Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of ages. Welcome along to WOR. In theory, this should be working because I've had issues with OBS all afternoon. Try to figure it out. Thanks to everyone who's hopefully figured it out. So if it's not working, then I'll be angry at OBS. Normally it should be adverts, but they don't work on my OBS. I don't know what's happened to it, so that is all of that. But joining me this afternoon, I've got the one and only, the person who joined me, well, who didn't join me last week, who has been commentating the whole season. It's Epic. Say hello, Epic.
Hello, good. How are you, mate?
I'm doing very good, of course, here in Belgium, and of course, you've commentated this whole season. How's it been going?
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy championship. Up and down, race and race. We've had 3 different race winners. It's too difficult to really say who's really winning this at the moment.
Yes, indeed, of course, here at Belgium, where a circuit where a lot of people can make mistakes, it's very easy. This could be a swing in the championship. In terms of the drivers and constructors, how are things looking on that half?
Well, it is our championship leader, Cordor, is racing here, which is, of course, very nice. Also, second place in the championship is Maloney, 2 points behind him, so Cordor on 47 and Maloney on 45. Now, our previous championship leader, Lucas Eduardo, had a DNF last race, and so he moved down to third on 40 points. Now, there's a bit of a gap going back to Tax in the Red Bull, who was fourth with only 33 points. Andres Lopez is also on 33 points after winning both the sprint race and the feature race in Azerbaijan. But it's looking pretty exciting and it's looking pretty close. Definitely, I would say possibly a 5-way battle for the championship.
Yes, indeed. We're just waiting to go to the live action just a few moments' time. So if you're wondering why we're not seeing any screen right now, it's because we're still in the lobby. When it goes off, if it's there, I'll switch it off on to that one. But of course, Epic. I mean, the constructors as well, it's going to be close. The drivers, like I said, it's up and down in the championship, which is here in Belgium. What are your expectations for this race?
It's so difficult. From each race, we had a pretty straightforward race in Azerbaijan with Andres Lopez leading most of it. You know, we had a last lap, I think it was the last lap lead for Maloney to win in USA, and Lucas Eduardo did pretty well, pretty much dominated in Brazil. So it's an up and down thing. But it's going to be a tough track for, I think, some drivers. I think a few drivers have to have a comeback, especially drivers, for instance, like Tack and Lucas Eduardo, who both DNF'd last race and lost positions because of it. And so I think there's something needs to be found between those two. Maybe a redemption day here at Spa. But I think also, I think it's going to be pretty difficult because this track it's a lot of elevation change. Curbs are quite dangerous around the track, and also track limits as well is a massive problem around here, especially off of turn 7 exit, turn 9 exit, turn 11, 13 and 14 for all of the exits off of those corners. So they've got to be careful throughout qualifying and the race, of course, not to pick up a penalty. Yeah,
penalties are going to be quite high potentially around here on a circuit. That does rain a lot as well. And the rain, obviously, an aforementioned part of Spa, if you remember what happened a few years ago in 2021, of the race that wasn't actually a race at all because it didn't really ever begin. But the weather here can be quite surprising. Would you be surprised to see some rain?
I would be slightly surprised. I think on the on F1 22, it doesn't seem to rain that much. I've raced Spa maybe 7-8 times on F1 22, and it's only rained once, so it's not a big chance. But it'd be exciting if it did. But I do suspect it will be a dry race.
Yeah, I reckon now it's going to be absolutely bucketing it down from the heavens. But in a few moments' time, we should be able to go into your live action onto the race screen as people are slowly readying up, I believe. Or 2 of them have got ready so far. But of course, a full 20 drivers, so everyone has showed up, which is always good to see a full grid, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think last few races, you know, we've had a full grid, I think, every single race this season, which is really good. Very different from last season in WOR, but you know, it's really great that we have these full grids for every single race because, you know, whether you're a reserve or a full driver, it just makes up for something. And the reserve drivers I think we've seen in this championship quite a bit that can play a vital role in scoring points. For instance, last race in Azerbaijan, 2 reserves of Ryan. I'm trying to find him. Shazoo Ryan and Seb, who I'm not sure are racing. So it's Ryan Grob. I'm not sure if Seb is racing, but both of them got 3rd and 4th. So it's quite important where they finished. So it's going to be quite important in this race of who finishes when. Will reserves get...
Indeed, as you just cut out ever so slightly there. I think you're still there with me. No. Yes, possibly. What's happened to him? I think we've slightly lost our co-con temporarily. Epic, are you with us still? No, he is not with me still. So,
Here?
oh,
Yeah.
yep, you're back. There we go. I can hear you again. I thought we lost you for a second there.
Okay, let's try and fit. You there?
Yeah, hello. We're having some technical difficulties with you, are we? Slightly there.
Trying to fix this.
Yep, so we've got some minor technical issues with Epic, but we can somewhat hear him. He'll be back in 2 minutes, as he says, but in a few seconds' time, we'll be getting ready to go, as everyone is slowly starting to ready up. So, of course, here in Spa, like Epic said, chance of rain, it could be quite low, it could be quite high, of course, around Belgium. It is 7.044 kilometres long around the Ardennes Forest. First hosting a race back all the way back in the 1920s, of course. The original circuit, which won its way almost 14 miles long, went away from, of course, the source, and, of course, left a circuit where Le Comets went round all the way and rejoined down at Brussels with some of the most famous corners of the Master King, of course. The flat-out left-right chicane, which, of course, I believe, if I remember correctly, Jackie Stewart had a massive accident back there in the mid-1960s. Of course, went off the calendar at the end of the 1960s, at the beginning of the early 70s, didn't rejoin until the mid-1980s. The circuit since then hasn't really undergone a lot of changes, apart from, of course, the bus stop chicane, which was pretty much not turned into a bus stop, but is still called the bus stop chicane, and of course the start line, which was now straight instead of a curve in more recent years, as well, of course, since, of course, the tragic events of 2019, where circuit has had a bit more of a update in terms of the runoff. It is more wider on some parts of the circuit, more gravel as well on the game. They haven't updated it yet, but hopefully for next year's game we'll have a nice new circuit. But in just a few moments' time, hopefully, because they're still not readying up, because they're taking a little bit of time for us to go into live action. Now we'll just bring in the actual screen as well, and hopefully you can hear the audio when, of course, we get it as well. So if you can't hear the audio when we go, ironically, there we go, 20 seconds, and we'll be going into it. Do let me know in the chat if you can hear all of the audio, because OBS has been having some minor issues, and I'm not quite certain if everything is properly fixed, but hopefully it is. As hopefully we'll have Epic back in a few moments' time as well. And I don't think Epic is here quite so yet, but nonetheless, hopefully he shall return when he is back. But we'll keep going in the meantime until he does so. But here we go then. What is the weather going to be like here in Belgium? We're going to get some nice sunshine, and we're going to get it absolutely chucking it down with rain. Well, in just under 30 seconds' time, we shall find that answer out. Of course, like I said, Belgium is often the quite erratic with the weather. Of course, in real life, as you know, the Ardennes Forest has its own little ecosystem, especially with the weather. So at some point in the circuit, it can be absolutely chucking it down. The other half of the circuit can be bone dry. Of course, you remember the likes of 2010. It rained quite a lot in qualifying and the race. Of course, 2008, more recently as well in 2021. And as I talk about rain a lot, the answer is it raining is going to be revealed as some nice cloudy weather above us here today in the Ardennes Forest as we get ready for 17 minutes of qualifying. And Epic, are you with us yet? No, he is not. So that's a shame there is. I'm just wondering why I cannot hear the audio through the game. So I'm just trying to see. If that fixes the audio, which I believe it potentially has fixed the audio on stream. So do let me know if the audio is working now. So having some minor issues, I think, with the audio. I'm not quite certain if it's working properly, but I'll try and figure that out as we go, because first stream on OBS, well, second stream, and things haven't gone a bit well. I don't exactly know where my co-com is, if he is with me or not, but hopefully he can return swiftly as well. But there is some kind of audio issue going on in the background, which I'm not quite so certain what has happened there, but hopefully everything is okay and it's just a button I haven't pressed. But nonetheless, this is what happens sometimes. Everything was working before and now everything isn't working, so I'm not quite so certain what has happened to the game, but hopefully we'll get it back working on OBS in due course as well. But first car's on circuit, and that is going to be on Andreas Lopez. He comes out of turn number 1, out of the source, and heading down, of course, in towards El Ruz, the left hand, as you hit the bottom of the crest, and of course, rise up over the top as you hit the top of a Radion up to the left, and then, of course, down at the Camel straight. Then a kick to the right as you hit almost 200 miles an hour, over 340 kilometers now, as you look out for the braking zone down into the comms. Spot the braking zone on the left, clip it on the apex on the right, and then flick back left, and then back over the right as you exit out onto Normandy, and then of course down into Brussels, downhill braking zone. Normally you can carry a little bit less braker than you normally can. Use the wind to help you stop as you come in to X corner. The quick left-hander, 5th gear as you take it through there. Right the curb on the exit, a little bit of grass for good measure, as you then head down into Poo on 8th gear, chuck it down into 7th, then might just tuck into 6th, keeps into 7th, as you rise up back over the crest, one of the cars up the road, I think that is one of the Mercedes, gets out of the way as you come down through Piff Path, as it is now as Fania, as you come up the exit of that, and then down into Stavolo, chuck it down into 4th gear, up into 5th on the exit, a little bit wide on the exit, but it gets it hooked up still, and they come down through into Paul Ferret, and then of course down into the infamous Blanchimont corner. Blink and you'll miss as you chuck it down then as 210 miles an hour nearly. Chuck it through the left, and then of course rise up over the crest as you then spot the braking zone down into the bus stop chicane. Right and left for the last time, and then Andrea Lopez will be the first car to set a lap time, and it should be around about 1 minute 42.8, I reckon. 1 minute 42.5. First car across the line as Tumas Lamanent crosses the line right behind him as well to begin his lap time respective. Oh, he did have his lap time. It was invalidated, actually, as Ivan goes across the line in second. Akos across the line in third, whilst I'm still trying to figure out why the audio's not working. Looking at the audio, do just not mind me for a few seconds, but I'm not quite certain what has happened to the audio. It should be working. And we still don't exactly know where my co-com has gone, but hopefully I can figure out what has happened to the audio, because it is broken somewhere on the game. I can't hear it either now, so let's have a look. The audio input is that. So if I switch this to that. So hopefully everything's working. For some reason everything just cut off for me there, but hopefully it's all back. OBS having a lot of fun with me right now, but hopefully everything's working again. I'm not quite certain what's happening. It just cut me off, but I think everything's still up. We've got a few cars on circuit, as we are just wondering where Epic is, my co-com, as we still cannot hear him exactly, but hopefully audio is weird again, apparently. I don't know what has happened to the audio. If it's coming through for something or not. Let's have a look. So let's see if default that's all the audio is gone again. I do apologise for this, all the issues we're having. Normally this doesn't happen when I try and stream. The last time it worked, but this time I don't exactly know. So apparently it's fine now, says Alf in the chat. So hopefully, if I don't touch anything, it'll work now. So I'm just not going to touch OBS, because every time I touch it, it breaks. But as you're saying, audio's working. We've now potentially got car audio as well. So thank you in the chat for letting me know on that one, as we ride on board with Eduardo, who loses the rear end ever so slightly as he chucks it down into poo on at 200-ish miles now to 190. Chucking through there very well. That's going to be, normally that'll be an invalidation, but he gets away with it. This is not a very good lap from Eduardo right now, as he chucks it through then into Paul Ferrer then. Down into Piff Paff, and then goes into Stavolo 1, and of course into Paul Ferrer, the right-hander, before heading back along the circuit then, as we are now midway through qualifying this afternoon in this session. As I really wish and want to know where my co-com's actually gone. That's one thing I want to know. In the chat he has messaged me. PC's got funny so Epic's PCs has gone kaput, it would seem. So hopefully we shall soldier on. Looks like I will be solo commentating for the time being, which I haven't done for a long time. So do apologise if this has gone a little bit wrong for temporal reasons, but at least we've got somewhat of a stream going. A poor Epic has had a major malfunction somewhere in the world. He is here somewhere, but in the session, but he is stuck in a different universe. So bless him, and hopefully he can return. So always the minor issues we have here in WR when I commentate, and it seems it's happened again. Last time I commentated, we had issues. This time we've had issues even more. So do apologise on that one, but like I said, everything is hopefully up and running somewhat again as we go through the field. A few cars on their second flying lap of this afternoon. It is Tumas Laminin through in towards the back end of the circuit as he comes then into the bus stop chicane. Right then left as he rises up over the crest and then into the last corner. Up to the line, that should be good enough for pole position, good enough for third, just over 3 attempts off of that top spot, which is still owned by Dimas so far as you run through the order, and that is a Williams. After that, it's Tristian, who got it all wrong out of the right-hander. Another car behind. Is that Ivan off the road in the McLaren? It is Ivan off in the McLaren in the gravel trap, so he's dropped it somewhere as Ian van Unen goes up into pole position temporarily for the time being. Still got a lot of people to say lap times. Tim Adams up to line so far, goes up to P3 as Alexander Johnson goes up even faster than that, gets himself onto that top spot with a 42.1 then, so even quicker for him. What about Cordino then as he comes through into the last couple of corners? He is invalidated Improving, I believe, when Franek Moravink then as he goes up to P4. On board next with Danico, and he is purple Sector 2 then. So let's see then what the other Alfa Romeo can do. So far, the first one's in 4th, the other one's in 18th, hasn't said lap time yet, to be fair, through the last couple of corners. And let's see where he can get that car. Then can he get himself up on the front row of the grid? Can he get alongside near his teammate? Down into the bus-up chicane on the exit, rides up over the curb, up to the line. Is it good enough to get himself up to the front? Well, he is alongside his teammate by some 30 thousandths of a second then. So P5 for the other car as well. So that has gone pretty well for him. So 4th and 5th so far with just over 3 minutes to go in qualifying, I believe, as we're just looking at some yellow flags. And hopefully in a second it will tell us exactly how long we have in qualifying. And we've still got some yellow flags, but I think around about 2 and a bit minutes still to come ahead of the drivers. They all head into the pit lane, but we are certainly at the crunch time now here in qualifying. Into the pit lane then we come as Jack Dan on his lap time as well. 4 attempts up in the middle sector, goes up to P3 then alongside his teammate. So good improvement for him. I do apologise, by the way, if I do have any minor breaks for that. Like I said, now only solo commentating, which I don't normally do and haven't really done for around about 8 months. So I was expecting to get thrown onto the stick quite like this, but we'll flow with it meanwhile as in comes Dustin into the pit lane then in the Williams, of course, which has released their livery just a few, well, a couple of hours ago, earlier this afternoon. Do let us know in the chat, what do you think of the, well, the new liveries, so to speak, which aren't really new, let's be honest. But the hat is new, that's a new livery for them, but of course, the Williams and the Red Bull, very similar liveries than last season. Do let me know what you think of that and who, well, what livery you're looking forward to seeing next up in the next couple of days as well, as one of the Alpines begins their outlap, the other Alpine on an outlap as well. So Lucas and Ryan on lap times, 3 minutes 20 still to go in the session as well. Tom97 not racing time. I do not believe so. So I'm not seeing Tom here today. Looking at the chat as well. Can't see him. But unfortunately our CoCom's PC has exploded. So a bit of an issue has happened to poor old Epic. I think it was in Tier 2, Nathan, if I'm certain. I'm 90% certain he does the Tier 2 racing. But of course, like I said, our CoCom's PC's exploded. So it's really not gone very well. Currently, but here we go, final lap, everyone on outlap, and I tell you what, if I'm Lucas Adrado, I am absolutely livid right now, because he's going to get held up like an absolute treat, and that is his lap, absolutely ruined by the Mercedes. He is not happy one so bit, and rightly so. He should have been well out of the way with that Merc, but at the same time, Lucas came on the circuit, and he was kind of stuck in traffic, but that is his lap over. He might be able to go again, but he will not be happy with, I'm not sure what Mercedes that is. If it's Drakex, it's not Drakex, it is, looking through, it's the Mercedes of Tim Alders, who got in the way then, so won't be happy with him. Candy King is on a beginning of a lap time as well, but that's a real shame to see an issue like that in qualifying, and Tim Alders might get himself into trouble that one. Jack Dan is retired from the session as well in the meantime, so he's put the car in the pit lane. I don't know if that'll be a penalty or not. It was very, he tried to move out of the way but didn't quite move out of the way, so rather held him up a little bit, but as you expect, Lucas not happy with that one to begin the final runs in qualifying. I believe the first car on circuit of these guys, it will be Ryan Grob then, as he comes through out of Brussels, and then of course, out of Normandy down into Brussels, and of course down into its corners. You run yourself down the hill as you come through X. Rear end trying to step out there a little bit on the brakes as well to hook the car in. Down into, of course, Piron, and this 190 miles now. Slight lift on the brakes, you chuck it through that. As you then rise back up then, take a bit of a shadow line as all the traffic then starts to even itself out of the back of the circuit right over the curb. As you chuck it through Piff Paff then, as his last lap time this afternoon, down in 16th position for 143.1 so far. Would dearly love to, well, be purple in Sector 2, which he is so far. However, the game historically does say it's purple all the time and doesn't mean absolutely anything, so we don't exactly know if he's purple. If he is not, he chucks it then down into Blanchimon, then of course into the last corners on this circuit, into the bus stop chicane, over the crest, right then left, as he comes up to the line. Can he get himself up near the front of the grid then? Ryan Grob comes up to the line, goes up to P13 then for him. Next up is not going to be Dustin Vincent as he hits the wall. I'm looking to see it's a Red Bull. I believe it'll be Johnson. No, it's not Johnson, so it's the other Williams then. Is it Tristan? Up to the line? Yeah, it is. So 42.6 for him, and that is lap over. Behind that, we've got Candy King up to line. 2 temps up on his lap time. Goes up to 6th position for them. Then we've got Ivan and Augustin going up to line. He stays 15th position then. It does the McLaren driver, as Ian Van Unen goes up to P3. I think that was Frank Moravik going improving. We got Cordo improving as well up to P2. The Haas behind crosses the line, stays in positions. We now go down the order to see where is the next car on the order, and it's Maloney in the pit lane. We've got one of the Aston Martins up to the line right now. That will be Ian, who does not improve on his lap time. Certain who does improve is Andrea Lopez, who goes up into P3. The Mercedes of Tim Alders doesn't improve, neither does Maloney. Dustin Vincent doesn't improve as well. And I think we are just waiting for, well, that, I suppose what we're waiting for is Lucas Edrado. Very frustratingly, has retired the car on the start-finish straight in the wall as well, and that was not how he wanted to end that particular one, but unfortunately that is how it is out. As Epic has rejoined, apparently, our call. Epic? He's in the chat, apparently, on my screen, but I cannot hear him currently, so hopefully we might get him back. But if not, that is to be a shame. But if we do get him back, that would be nice. But do let us in the chat know what you think of this race. Have a give it if you are new to hit like and subscribe, and the notification bell as well if you are new. And don't forget, you can follow WOR on their Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter as well, at Liam New Media, if you want to keep up to date with all my commentary schedules as well. And do apologise, by the way, if this isn't the best comms I've ever done in the world. Like I said, we are having a lot of technical difficulties. I will say, though, happily, it's not raining so far. I don't know if the race will be wet, because we're yet to find, but so far it's not going to be raining right at the start, which is good to see. Once we just get ready to go, in just a few moments' time ahead, of course, the Belgian Grand Prix. 22 laps, I believe, ahead of us here today. I do not know, actually, the formation that is on or off, so we shall figure that out in just over 20 seconds' time if we are going straight into it or not. Like I said, I am a very late replacement for Hyperactive, who is not here this week, and of course not here next week either, but in just over 10 seconds' time, we shall get ourselves on to the grid to see what is ahead of ourselves then here in Belgium for, of course, the Belgium Grand Prix. And is the formation that on is the answer. And the answer to that is no. So with 5 red lights ahead of the drivers, look, but never stir then here in Belgium. Because it is, of course, away, and it's a good start then from Johnson. Cordo then trying to pull up alongside on the hards. One out for the Alfa Romeo, trying to squeeze around the outside. In towards turn 1, though. It is Andrea Lopez very off the road there at turn 1. Was he here? I don't quite so certain. As sorry, that was the Red Bull off at turn number 1. As Andrea Lopez then side by side with Van Ernen as they come up the hill then for the first time. 2 abreast there, one of the Alfa Romeos. Alpha Tauris there going very wide. They're almost 3 abreast. They come over the crest. Almost 4 wide there at the beginning of this race as they try and funnel themselves down then in towards Lecombe for the first time. 3 into 1 normally doesn't work through here. Just about they have all got together. One of the Red Bulls don't know. Going to be a pile up in the middle of the pack then. One of the Ferraris gets caught up with that then. I think that was Akos there, and the wall goes one of the Suzuka's and Ryan Grubbers. Another car dives up the inside. That's one of the McLarens getting involved. No safety car, luckily, at the beginning of this race. But a very messy start then. A lot of contact, a lot of cars having issues as they come down into Pullman for the first time. Thomas Laminin out of this race already. Ryan Grob involved in an incident as well. The Ferrari caught up in that as well. I think he might have got away without any severe damage. But Andrea Lopez up front has had the start. He wants more yellow flags at the back as there is the Mercedes of Drax off the road. He's had issues as well. So when it rains, it seems to pour at the start of this race as drama unfolding left, right and centre as they head down then in towards Blanchimont for the first time of 22 this afternoon. Is the Aston Martin there getting in action then with Alexander Dimas then, who goes up the inside. Late braking then from the Haas. He got the car stopped. Yes, he has. He got the job done as well. Further back, the other Haas getting involved with the ETA driver of Tim Alders then. So they come down the straight in towards turn number 1. In comes Akos, in comes Danny, in comes Ryan Grubb as well. With those 3 involved in incidents at the beginning of this race, they are hoping for a very early safety car. I believe everyone on the hard compound tyres, apart from Augustin down the back, and of course the 3 that have just stopped are now on the medium compound tyres. They head down then on lap number 2. Up front, we've got Alexander Johnson trying to make a move potentially on Franek Moravink, but still can't quite get the job done through there as they all slide their cars then down the braking zone then into Brussels for the second time. Getting awfully close is the Alfa Romeo and the Red Bull. Up front, still Andrea Lopez has the bit between his team so far and has got a half a second gap ahead of Ian Van Ernen then in second. But further down the field, action galore going on down here. Is absolute drama and chaos, and of course, like they say here in Spa, it's often the normally quite close quarters, but especially in the first lap, that was awfully close quarters. A lot of incidents going on, especially between these 3. Now, of course, I think all 3 of them caught up in their own separate related incidents, but all 3 of them, fortunately, all together, so they can't be together throughout this race. Well, up front still, it is Lopez from Irvine. And of course, there is the Red Bull still stuck behind then. DRS enabled on this lap. And yes, we do love Hyperactive. We do hope he's back soon enough as well. Of course, he isn't here this week and he is not here next week as well. So, fortunately, you have got to put up with me because our other commentator has also had a minor issue with his PC exploding. Now, I'm not quite certain how his PC's exploded because he's still apparently in the chat. But he is gone. So, that is a real shame. Hopefully he can somehow fix his PC if it's not completely kaput, but, we shall find out in due course if you will let me know at some point in the chat as well on the Discord if he is returning, if he's not, but we believe he is, unfortunately, terminated for the time being as the Aston Martin that tries to continue its chase. They are starting to pull away a little bit from Franek Morat as they come down then into Brussels. Behind them, that Red Bull remaining vigilant, remaining just about there or thereabout. With Dimas behind, yellow flags, and that is the Aston Martin, which I just mentioned was remaining right behind him. Now in the wall, was second position. now finds himself down in 14. How much damage on that Aston Martin, though? I don't think much, especially on the end plates. I think he might have just backed it into the wall slightly then, so lost the rear end out of Ic's corner, dropped it straight away, and, well, that is turned his race right on its head because he was at the front, now finds himself right down plumb at the back of the order. Though, fortunately, if he doesn't have damage, can carry on his merry way, but that is a big mistake for him. And that really now just means that Franek Moravank will have a bigger gap to try and close up to the car ahead. That is of Andrea Lopez, who's now got a 1.3 second advantage. As I look down the order to see, are we going to see Ian Van Erden dive straight into the pit lane for damage? If he did damage the car, we would see him in the pit lane right now, but we are not. So it looks like he has got away without any severe damage in this race, which is very fortunate because where he hit that wall must have been a fair old whack on the rear end of the car. Is now up the hill. One of the cars getting a wiggle on. Here is the Red Bull. Is he close enough to make a move? A bit too far back for the time being. As you scroll down through the order, it looks like the Ferrari, though, might have a potential move. Here comes Maloney. Forces the initiative of Tim Alders, but can't quite do it then. So he comes down into the chicane. So head up out of it, and Tim Alders still remains then in 8th position for the time being. Mine as well, one car making a move, I believe that was Tristan, making up a move potentially on Lucas Edrado then, who was, like I said, making a move up from qualifying where he was very much impeded in qualifying, unfortunately, but that is sometimes the price you pay for being out of order. Off the road, meanwhile, going the McLaren a little bit wide of Augustin as well. So pushing limits a little bit of these drivers as they try and find the ultimate pace around here in Belgium. But so far, things are relatively remaining calm. Ryan Groblen with a time penalty, 3 seconds, his first of this afternoon, never exceeding track limit at the back of the fielders. The Aston Martin there of Jack Dan getting awfully close to the rear end of the Haas led of Alexander Dimaslen as they come then onto lap number 5 of 22. And I tell you what, at the rate this race is going, they are relatively all keeping within each other's range. I tell you who is a lot closer though. It's Alexander Johnson as Drax gets the fastest lap of this race. He pushes on. He is currently down in 15th position to come up El Rouge. And let's see. This is an opportunity then for Alexander Johnson to get alongside him, try and pull ahead of Franek Glenn as he comes up the hill up to the right-hand side. And he's not going to defend it too heavily at this stage of the race. So up the inside he comes and gets the job done then for the time being as a route of this race. Is now Ryan Grubby has pulled the car over. Bad exit low from Johnson. Is Moravank be able to come up the inside? No, can't quite do it behind him as well. Almost getting slightly pushed then is Alexander Dimas. As he is right up his chuff then, pushing him around as the safety car has been deployed. Now, what is that for? Have we had an incident somewhere on this circuit? And looking through the order, and there we go, Tristan without a front wing, so he's knocked his front wing off just there. So, safety car is now deployed as I quickly take a small break so I can grab myself a drink, because I've drunk all my drink already, so do apologise for that one, but I will be back in a few seconds. As I am now back, to apologize for that short delay, but as we are on the safety car as well, we're just waiting for Danny and Akos to come in the pit lane. No one has yet stopped of the front group of cars, where a few at the back have already stopped in this race for a second or their first stop so far. As Ryan Grubb has left the session as well. So unfortunately that is the end of that one. But further down, Alexander Johnson with a time penalty of 3 seconds to his name for exceeding track limit. So that must have been pretty recently, just under the safety car. He must have exceeded track limit somewhere. So that's going to put a hamper on his afternoon then potentially. But with what we've got, we've got about 16 laps still to go ahead of the drivers here in Spa. It does go pretty quickly as the camera angle doesn't want to change quite so yet. But like I said, as well, we will not be having, unfortunately, Epic back this afternoon. It seems his PC has gone kaput and he can't get his mic working back up again. So that is a real shame to see that he has had to go temporarily. But nonetheless, I shall try and shoulder on the best I can. Like I said, I'm not really used to doing solo comms. I don't normally do it either. So this is normally going to be one of those ones. It could be a little bit interesting, so do just bear with me as well. But Frank Morvank in third position, trying to come up the field. We have the two McLarens swapping position there. That is Ivan into the pit lane. And I'm wondering, is this for a new nose? There is a new nose, I believe, on that McLaren then. So, yeah, new nose going on the McLaren. We can't quite see it because the camera angle isn't really helping us, but there is a new nose on that McLaren. And away he goes. So, where he's knocked land off, I'm not quite so certain. Has there been contact, I'm wondering, between him and his teammate then under the safety car? Or has he dropped it somewhere because he came in, still had quite a lot of the front wings still on, it looked like, so it must have only been a small whack, but a new nose now on the car, and will find himself down in 18th position, but up front, still, like we said, Lopez in the lead of this race. Not a lot of people yet to stop now. We do not expect people to stop until around about lap 14, 15 potentially, on these hard compound tyres. They'll be staying out a long, long while. But what this safety car does mean is the guys at the back that have now taken their advantage and have stopped, they will have a nice new fresh set of tyres to go back and challenge these guys. As you can see, some of them are at the back with spikes of Augustin on that set of hard compounded tyres. Could go to the end of this race potentially from here. The medium compound runners are something they might be able to stretch it to the end. Now, they might have to gamble on another safety car, potentially for a set of soft compound tyres right at the dying stage of this race. Right, the back safety car, I believe, should be in this lap. So you're just waiting for Ivan to come up to the back of the field. As what has happened there? 5-second time penalty for Akos for a severe contact. Now, he's down there in 17th position, so having contact with Danny ahead of him, so... And the front left end plate gone on Akos' car, so something has happened, and the safety car, I believe, should be called in right now, if I'm not mistaken. If not, yeah, safety car in this lap as well, so... That is Akos' race, absolutely shredded up then this afternoon. I'm not quite so certain what's happened. I presume what's happened is Danny slowed up slightly and these two have ran into each other. But here we go again then through the last corner as they run 2 by 2 as he exits out of the bus stop. And away goes Andre Lopez then to lead the field away then. But behind him, Alexander Johnson will follow quickly suit as well as he head down in towards the source. And it is just about going to be the car of Johnson as yellow flags at the background. And that is, of course, Akos retiring the car from this afternoon's race with that damage he secured as they come up our roads. Big mistake! Oh, that is a massive accident there. And I hope that is not going to rejoin the circuit. But that is Franek out of this race. And unsurprisingly, I presume the safety car will be straight redeployed. That was a sickening fun for the Alfa Romeo. into the wall, and the safety car not going to be straight deployed, but he is out. 3-second time penalty for Tristan as well, but that was a mighty shunt there at the top of the hill as Lopez leads from Johnson in second, Dimas in third, from Corder now in fourth, Jack Dan in fifth, Candy up in sixth position as well. Real gainers out of this race, I must say, looking through it, and that is gonna be the likes of Dimas up 4 positions, up 10 for Lucas Edrado as well, up 6 for Vincent, of course down 13 for Franek, down 12 for Laminin as well. Those two have had a terrible afternoon with mistakes, of course. One, Thomas out on the first lap, Franek now out on lap 8 of 22 with an almighty shunt at the top of the hill. Did safety car come because of me? Says FedEx in the chat. I'm not quite so certain on that one. I think it might have been potentially, but up the hill. This is turning now into an interesting race. It is going to be a little bit more spread out. As Lucas Edrado now out at the top of the hill as well. Another car at the top of El Rouge. And that's the second one in 2 laps we've seen. And now surely the safety car has to be deployed. You would imagine with another shot at the top of the hill. But no safety car yet. But what on earth is going on up there? That's like dropping like Skittles up the top of the hill. I've never seen 2 cars in the space of 2 laps out of the same corner. That is remarkably surprising. But that is what happens off the road. Alexander Johnson there struggling with the car as well to get on the power as he goes a little bit wide. But 2 cars out of this race. We are only just made way through this race. Well, 4 cars out of this race, might I say, but 2 in the last 2 laps. And we can lose any more this lap. Well, El Rouge proving to be vicious as ever this afternoon as they come down through the exit of Stavolo 2 into Paul Ferret. As we head on towards lap number 10 of this afternoon. Further down the field, like we say, middle spread out right now. A few cars closing up. It's the Mercedes on the back of the Williams of ETA Dustin Vincent. And let's see, I don't think any potential movers right now as they head down in towards the bus stop. Which again, it'll be a day late and a little bit of a dollar short as you don't want to rear end the car. DRS now enabled though, and that will certainly help the running between them as well as they, of course, head up towards turn number 1. It is Johnson who is pretty close up to the lead up. 4/10 of that gap. As well as Lucas says, can we see a gap? Well, the answer to that is yes, you can see the gaps, because I said it as you said it. But up the hill we come. And let's see Alexander Johnson when with the help of DRS. Let's see, can he get alongside and pull up ahead of Andrea Lopez with the DRS closing, going to the right-hand side. But the AlphaTauri tries to cover him, but doesn't enough. Up the inside he comes in towards Lecon. And now that Red Bull is indeed ahead, but does he get the exit as well? No, he doesn't, because he's hit the wall! And they're off! Johnson into the wall and out of this race. And now the safety car is deployed. And, well, I said he wanted to get the exit. He didn't get the exit into the wall. And that is the 3rd retirement in, 4 laps in this race. The safety car now redeployed yet again. As I do turn my mic down a little bit there. I do apologize if it was a bit too loud. Yeah, another car out of this race. Johnson out, Edrado out, Franek out, Akos out as well, and drama here in Belgium. And what a topsy-turvy race this is providing to be. And now if you are these guys on the hard compound sides, would you decide to pit for a set of mediums? Would they go 12 laps? Should be about 9 laps in total. But what rotten luck for Alexander Johnson there, who took the lead for a few seconds. There's a bit of an incident going on here potentially between Cordo and Jack Dan. They squabble positions, but expecting leader in. Yeah, they're all going to be coming in now, going on a set of medium tyres and seeing if they can get to the end of this race. It'll be a straight call. Everyone on the hard compounded tyres coming in. Well, everyone's coming in. Actually, I'm pretty certain that is the whole field. Yeah, the whole field in the pit lane then. So no one deciding to stay out on any of the tyres that they have. So this is going to spice potentially the grid up. Is everyone going to come out in position? Andrea Lopez certainly comes out in the order he comes. It's going to be Alexander Dimas in second. Then comes the Aston Martin of Jack Dan. Then the AlphaTauri. Then it's going to be the Mercedes of Tim Alders. So I think a few people may have switched here and there. But that's really going to spice this race up then. So, with half the race gone, half the race still yet to come then. Here in the beautiful Ardennes Forest then, here in Belgium, with the sun shining above us. But it is Ivan now leading this field actually. So, I'm wondering, did he stay out? Or did he pit? I believe he stayed. Yeah, he stayed out then on those set of medium compound tyres. So, he's going to see if he can stretch these tyres a little bit longer to go to the end of this race. You would imagine so, as there you can see the remains of the Red Bull that was on the inside of the corner. But now this really does say that I don't have a clue who is going to be doing and what in this race. It's turned it upside down. Lopez surely is the man on the mission. He's going to be aggressive now. He's going to try and get that lead back. Dimas now in third position in this race after what happened earlier on with a lot of the drivers. They can count their chickens, I suppose, because they are very lucky. Cordeau up a few positions. Tim Alders as well, up quite a few. As we look then to see the position changes, that Tim Alders up 5 down 3, I should say, for Cordeau. He has not had the afternoon that he has wanted. Neither is Ian Van Unen, who dropped it earlier on. He was running up the front, then of course he dropped it as well. But hopefully he can now come back into this race. After that mistake, of course, that's going to bring the field up together. Safety car should be in at the end of next lap. But in the chat saying they are cheering for Alexander. And you can better pass him up 4 positions so far, but up 18 positions for Ivan as well. Yep, sure, he's not really, he's kind of slightly out of sync of these drivers by the 4-lap older tyres. Let's see what he can do in this race. Can he still win it? That's always going to be the question to be answered, but we'll see in just over, 10 and a bit laps ahead of the drivers as they come through then in towards the last corner and then head on to the next safety car lap of this afternoon with the beautiful green Aston Martin Vantage there up the front of the order. And I will say, very beautiful safety car as he heads up the McLaren Mercedes and of course the AlphaTauri, which used to be a Minardi, and the Haas, which used to be a Haas, and that was an Aston Martin that almost became a side of a Haas. Of course, the former Jordan team, of course, back in 1991, of course, the Minardis. And then, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the Tyrrell, which is the Mercedes there as well. I think it was Tyrrell back in the day. It was BAR, then it was, yeah, it should be Tyrrell, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, Ferrari and Williams remain the same. Alfa Romeo, which was Sauber back in the day, and well, it's now going to be Audi. So Sauber, which has had pretty much all 3 of the big 3 German manufacturers as its engine supplies. BMW in the mid-2000s, Audi from 2026 onward, and of course Mercedes, which of course began back in the early 1990s, 1993, when they were them, of course, and at the back of the order, the Williams still as well. So Williams in the middle, Williams at the back, but both of them still in this race, which is good to see. As they head then down in towards Pouan for the 12th time this afternoon of a very dramatic and hectic race then here in Belgium. With now 6 cars out of this race so far. Is there any more twist and turn in this race with our second safety car of this afternoon? Remember, you can only get a maximum of 5 safety cars, and of course, if we have a safety car now, we can have safety cars pretty much for the rest of the race if the game decided it wanted to. But let's hope we do not get any more as a safety car, like I said, in this lap. And there it is, as it heads then down into the pit lane in the end of this straight. So, Ivan will lead this field away then from Lopez in second, who's led most of this race. Alexander Dimas then, who has had a strong afternoon with ups and a little bit of down, but he is slowly coming into his own then. Finds himself in third, Jack Dan in fourth, Cordo in fifth from Tim Holders in sixth, and this race still with a few twists and turns to come ahead of the drivers, and I am excited to see who is actually going to be doing what now. There is going to be a lot of drama, a lot of incidents potentially ahead of us. But first off, we've got to get ourselves under racing then. And let's see then up front. And it's going to be the car of Ivan through the last corner on the set of medium compound tyres. And when's he going to go? Well, the answer is right about now then. So, away he goes then. Bertomir. He comes up the hill, warms the tyres up. But Andre Lopez straight away with him as he comes down in towards the source then for the first time of this safety car restart. A good exit there from Andreas. You can almost pull alongside. Now we'll try and burn some ERS as they try and run themselves up the top of the hill then for the 13th time. We're not going to be seeing manoeuvres straight away. They're all going to get up the top of the hill this time around. Yes, they are, but pulling alongside and pulling ahead already is Lopez. And straight away through. Now what's through is here comes Alexander then up the inside down into the comp. Late braking for the Haas driver. Gets the job done as well as the McLaren on those slightly worn tyres, just not firing up at the beginning of this race. Struggling to get any sort of grip. Luckily, it looks like everyone seemingly has got through the first sectors okay. And that is quite crucial for them. As Jack Dan now, the next car to try and line up a position then on Ivan, who's just struggling to get those tyres fired up for whatever reason. They are like 4 or 5 laps old, but they wouldn't have been pushed too heavily, so you would be surprised to see him struggling less badly at the start of this race. But certainly he is struggling to get any grip in this race. As again, just squirming the car around. They've almost dropped a second already to Dimas and Lopez, who have absolutely bolted like the flies out of this race. Further down the field, Tristan at the back is moving out of this race as well. So, like I said, retired earlier on, has left the session as well as passing as they come down in towards Blanchimont, and that is Jack Dan getting the job done, and Ivan as well, who's really just dropping back. He is getting sent to the butchers right now. Whatever is happening to his tyres, they are slightly older, if he doesn't have the pace or what. But it's not working for him right now as he gets himself slowly gobbled up by the chasing pack. And he's going to have it a bit worse in a few seconds as Cordo finds himself alongside soon enough. As they come then, as up towards our route, you'd be brave to try and chuck one up the inside up there with the amount of cars we've seen have a mistake. Then a good exit up the top of the hill and another driver swooping right on the outside. A bit of contact down the straight for good measure. But he gets alongside up ahead, and here comes the Mercedes to come up the inside as well. And it's like taking candy from a baby then, as poor old Ivan has just got absolutely nothing in the tank to fight with. And I do not know what has gone on with his car. Maybe he just doesn't have the pace this afternoon. Maybe he's got an issue, we don't know. But these tyres are just not firing whatsoever. And he's just dropping backwards and backwards and backwards. Here comes Dax then, trying to think about a move up the inside, down into the braking zone. That's a nice little move up the inside. Then they come into Piff Paff. And that is the job done then for the Mercedes driver. Up the inside he went, and Augustin really didn't put up too much of a fight there. We probably realised that race was done before it even was moved there, as the inside he came, really late braking. Further behind here is Danny then, trying to line up that move potentially as well, as he comes down then in towards the first couple of corners. Well, the last couple of corners, and the Alfa Romeo now trying to line up the other McLaren. One McLaren dropping down, the old one starting to get swamped as well. But up front, 5-10 for the gap then between Dimas and Lopez. As up they come, 6/10 of a second. Should be a little bit too much to get any sort of pass up the top of our route down in towards the comp, so should be fine for another lap. Further down the field though, that McLaren, now there's a bit of a gap then to Candy, and then he's got Maloney behind him as well. And then, of course, we got the gaggle of cars, and here comes the Alfa Romeo up the inside down into the con. That's not going to work. Bang! They touch again, and there's always going to be contact there. And didn't quite get the job done, but these drivers pushing on. They really want to get past each other. The car behind of Ian Van Ernen can't get past either as they follow through. Lap 15 of 22 then of this afternoon's Belgium Grand Prix. Lopez still up front from Alexander Dimas, still in second. But a bit of a gap starting to form now, down to Jack Dan of a 1.2 second advantage. Then they've got then as Cordo using all the curbs, trying to follow as much as he can, but still can't quite close enough either. And you can always put a cricket stump between some of these drivers, you could say, as they push the limits. Only one with that time penalty so far. And that, of course, Tristan, who I believe has got a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits earlier on in the race as well. So, pushing the limits to their absolute maxes, but can't quite get what they want to so far. Coming through them up towards our road, and again, Dimas close enough behind to get the DRS, but I don't think close enough to make a move as he comes up the top of our road. And it really needs to be around about 3 temps at this stage. If he was about 3 temps, I'd say he could get close enough, but looking at the straight there, Cordova, Cordo getting passed by Jack Dan, as well as Candy King up the inside of Ivan, who drops down yet another position in this race. He should still score some points in this afternoon's race, though, as if he keeps the pace he's going. He's got a bit of a gap down to Maloney, who's a few seconds, just over a second behind as well, so there's a chance for him. But AlphaTauri now coming into this race, first and third so far. They are doing well, and let's see what they can do. Doesn't need to make any unnecessary mistake, though. That is the key around this race. Do not push the car over its limits, otherwise you will have an incident. But so far, they're remaining somewhat in order. No, I've said this before, and seen a car fly straight off the road, so let's not put fingers on that buzzer so far, as Cordo chases up, and he is still closing up a little bit, actually, to the back of Dimas. That gap now around about 8 tenths of a second, so really, if Dimas can't close up, if Lopez can extend that gap and get away, as Maloney's actually got passed by Ivan already then, so I thought he had a bit of a buffer of a second. Well, that proves absolutely nothing, because he's already ahead then, so a mistake presumably for Ivan somewhere on this lap, because he's now finding himself down in 8th position ahead of where he should have been. But dropping down the order, I thought it would have still been 7th, but not to be so far. He'll have Dustin now up his rear as well to try and get past him. Two attempts so far. The gap between first and second positions, it closes up a little bit more. 1 second to Cordo, is kind of sticking with these drives, but he's just on the buffer of DRS, just on the buffer of not DRS. Alexander using all of his experience to try and push upwards and see if he can get the victory of this race. Well, he's got only a couple of laps still to go ahead of us. As long as there's no more safety cars, that will help him as his course a little bit. But further back, like I said, Cordo sticking with him. Jack Dan as well in 4th. Then comes Tim Alders. Then from Candy King and Maloney in 6th and 7th. Ivan in 8th from Dustin in 9th. Drax in 10th from Augustin in 11th. Then comes Danny with a big old twit out of Stavolo too, as he then head back down the back straight then. Here for the 12th, for the 17th of 22 in this race. We head on towards the last couple of laps. And Dimas right up behind now with DRS. This is the closest he's been all afternoon. He needs to really, if I'm him, I'm burning the DRS all the way out of turn number 1. If he's got an opportunity, it's probably coming around about now, because he's running out of time. He wants to get ahead. It needs to be soon. He's burning the DRS, but so is Lopez. as well. So he's just stuck there on about 6-7 tenths of a second. He needs really a big mistake from Lopez to get alongside, because he can close up as much as he like down here. But it's not going to be enough, because he'll close around about 4 tenths, I'd say, just under it. It's under 4 tenths, 3 tenths of a second then, as further down the field, the two McLarens there switching around. That is Augustin there getting swamped a little bit as the Mercedes trying to go around the outside there. A bit of argy-bargy as these two are going to touch their down out of here. That's going to be inevitable. They do touch, they survive. There's going to be an Aston Martin trying to squeeze up the inside. And that's not going to work at all, is it? As they all just about get away with it. How are they surviving this one? As Danny trying to squeeze through. The Mercedes trying to come through this as well as the Williams. And 3 into 1 nearly worked there. And somehow Danny remains ahead of these guys. I'm not quite certain how, because that almost could have been an aeroplane crash. But Ivan, on the move, he's been aggressive this afternoon. He really knows right now his race pace, it was with these top guys up front. But he's just been rather caught out the back, and he just cannot make a move through. But up front, Alexander Dimas, again, close up behind the leader. And this time he's really with him. So now is the opportunity that he could pounce. Down exit of turn number 1. If he can stay with about 3 tenths of a second, he will have a huge opportunity then. Instead, C, burn the ERS out of here with the help of DRS. As long as he doesn't drop behind about 5 tenths of a second, he will be within DRS range then. It's about a 4 tenth gap he had. He has an opportunity then as he comes up the top of our route, and this is the opportunity that surely he's looking for with the DRS. Now, can he get close enough then? No, he can't. 2 tenths of a second. He's so close. But Cano Cigar can't pull out to the right-hand side. Lopez burning all of his ERS as well to defend, as Maloney there and Candy King swap a position as well. Maloney on the move up into 6th position as well. He is flying as Tristan at the back's had a mistake or something. He's battling with Drax down the back as Lisu switch around further afield. But all of a sudden, action's starting to kick off in this race, and Lopez now starting to come under more and more pressure, but he needs to make sure he gets this car to the end of the race. Dustin Vincent with a 3-second time penalty, 6 for the pair of them. So fun tyres, of course, looking at that one, all on them 8 laps apart from Ivan on those 12-lap-old tyres. That's the key here. And let's see what he can do. But again, Alexander really close up behind it. Is he on opportunity down into the bus stop chicane? Thinks for a brief second there, but he hits it the closest he's been all afternoon at the exit of the bus stop chicane. Up he comes, and is there any opportunity for him to get alongside, to take the lead of this race? He's been close, but no cigar. He needs to be within 3 tenths of a second, lap 20 of 22. And this race is all about to kick off then. Here we come then. Now surely he's got the opportunity to get alongside. Up he comes and up Air Rouge and right up his shot for now. Let's see, he'll go to the right hand side. Lopez is going to have to cover it, but he can't cover it enough then. Up the inside, here comes Dimas, and will take the lead then of the Belgium Grand Prix on that 20 of 22. And now can he get himself up the order and try and pull a bit of a gap then on Lopez, who's led every single lap of this race, apart from one, I believe it was earlier on, when he was behind Ivan, who really stayed out under the safety car. But Dimas now needs to get that gap around about 4 to 5 tenths. But look at him, he's starting to pull that gap out already then. So he has the bit between his teeth, but has he got the outright pace? And this is going to be so crucial to see. How can he pull a gap? Can he pull a gap ahead? As you can tell, my voice is starting to die as well. But now the two AlphaTauris line astern, and they've got a bit of a gap behind to the Aston Martin behind as well. But Alexander Dimas, here he comes then, lap 21 in ban. He has just over a lap after this one to win this race. With the gap between him and second position remaining around about 4 to 5 tenths of a second. Now, Remember, if it's under 4 tenths of a second, there will be a real opportunity to come back past that at turn 1. But a big lag spike for him right there. That's not going to help his scores. That drops about 2-3 tenths from that one as he's lagging a little bit right there as he closes right up on the brakes. But now at the exit, let's see. 4 tenths of a second, 5 tenths of a second. I think for now, Dimas has got the gap just about. So let's see as they come up the hill. It will be awfully close, about 2-3 tenths I'd say, but I believe he'll have it. So yeah, Dimas has got the gap. He pulls the inside line just to try and cover it off as well, but he is leading this race then. He'll have a bit of a buffer now, around about 3 tenths of a second, which he does. Behind him, Lopez and Cordo there in second and third. Ahead of Jack Dan as the two McLarens swap position there between 9th and 10th position. And there is Augustin ahead of Ivan. Danny right behind. Then comes Ian and then of course Tristan and Drax right at the back of the order. But up front, 3 tenths of a second between first and second position. So close between the pair of them. I mean, one small mistake from these guys and it will all be over. These two might not finish this race, reminder. This is going to be close. They're all pushing these drivers to their absolute limit. The other AlphaTauri in this battle as well, which is over 5 tenths behind the other car. So here we go then. One last hurrah, one last chance. And Lopez is going to burn some of the ERS to try and get as close he can then. And remember, if he's in 4 tenths of a second, it'll be a real opportunity down out of Lecombe, down into Lecombe. And let's see, he is close behind, but can't quite do it. He forces the car to go defensive. And here we go then, last lap of this race. Can Alexander win this race? He has Lopez right up behind him. He needs to be very tactical here, because they're just following each other through. The two AlphaTauris almost touching there, down in towards turn number 1. Car off of the background. There is one of the Aston Martins out of this end that spun it. But here we come. Real opportunity now for Lopez to take this lead back. Here as he come up El Rouge. This is the opportunity he's looking for then. He'll have to go to the right-hand side. He'll have to defend him. He will and force him right up the outside of the hill. But has he got enough straight line speed? That'll almost touch down the straight. But Dimas can't quite do it. Lopez leads this race on the last lap of this race, but it's not over yet. Has he got a good exit out of here? Not quite so. He has one more chance. He has to try and get him down in towards the last couple of corners. Can he do it? But Lopez, he's been so strong this afternoon, retakes this race. Meanwhile, look at these guys at the back having a squabble, but we'll keep the eye up front. This is the battle we're looking for. But Lopez now starting to pull that gap. And now 4 tenth buffers. So all of a sudden, Lopez using everything he's got in his arsenal to try and pull away. Dimas is going to have one opportunity at it. It's going to be down into the braking zone, in towards the last couple of corners. If he can get a good exit out of here and just try and use all of the ERS, but they will be both using as much of it as they can. He'll have the DR, he'll have the slipstream, but I don't think he'll be enough to close in. So here we come then. Lopez will come through then into Blanchimont, unless Dimas can have a mighty dive, but it'll be a daylight and a dollar short from there. He has a look then down into the chicane, but can't quite do it. Pushes him a little bit of a nudge here, a little bit of a nudge there. Lopez, though, up to the line, will win here in Belgium by 2 tenths of a second from Dimas in second. Cordo in third, Jack Dan in fourth. Aldez in fifth from Candy King, Maloney and Augustin. Dustin there will finish in ninth, but will drop down a few positions. But almighty battle there on the last lap of the race as Alexander almost had that, but 2 tenths of a second was all it took. Well, there we go then. This race done and my voice absolutely gone. I will say driver of the day surely has to go to Alexander. Potentially a strong performance for him from where he was. He'd been up quite a few positions, but the AlphaTauri team on the top step of that podium. And in third position as well. So a double podium then for the AlphaTauri team, but it is the Spanish driver at the top step of that podium as the champagne then gets sprayed. So there we go then, and your official rundown of the grid will be, or the results should I say, will be, if the game actually gives us to them, as we are just waiting for a few moments, but I don't think it's going to give us, is he going to give us the rundown of the grid? No, maybe, possibly, it got stuck. F1 22, the beautiful game, as I don't think it's I don't think it's even going to give us the grid. No, didn't even give us it. How rude of it. Didn't even give us the official rundown then of the order. But there is that one. And I will say an absolutely beautiful little race. I do apologise, like I said, for some of the action, if I did miss quite a bit of it as well. A very dramatic race. But there we go, as we head, of course, into the pre-race screen as well. But that has been that for me this afternoon, as I believe obviously don't have my co-commentator here today. Of course, Epic, hopefully he can return. I will not be doing interviews, unfortunately, because my voice is absolutely shot, and I need to rest it quite desperately because it hurts quite a lot. But do want to say thank you for WOR for having me on this afternoon. Like I said, apologies for the technical difficulties. Hopefully for next week we can get it all sorted. But until next time, I have been Evil, and we shall see you soon. For now, take care and goodbye.